Hi, I'm Kelsey from RTINGS.com. Today we'll be doing a review of the Corsair SABRE RGB Pro. We'll be evaluating on our standardized test bench to see how it performs and if you should buy it. The Corsair SABRE RGB Pro is a lightweight gaming mouse with a right-handed ergonomic shape. It's designed primarily with FPS and MOBA gaming in mind. The Corsair SABRE RGB Pro has a subdued minimal design. Its body is made of slightly textured matte plastic. It has two side buttons on the left and a dedicated CPI button behind the scroll wheel. There are two independently controllable RGB zones, one in the scroll wheel and a second in the translucent logo on the palm rest. It also has a set of LED lights that indicate what CPI setting you're using. This mouse is only available in a black color scheme. There's another version of this mouse, the Corsair SABRE Pro, which is nearly identical, but it lacks RGB lighting. There's also a wireless version called the Corsair SABRE Pro Wireless. This version is very similar, but only has a maximum polling rate of 2000 Hz. Now we'll take a look at the tests. Let's start with the weight. With a lighter mouse, you can make faster movements. This can give you an advantage in reaction-based games and first-person shooters. On the other hand, you may prefer a heavier, more comfortable mouse for other genres. The Corsair SABRE RGB Pro is a lightweight mouse well suited to fast-paced games. However, it's slightly heavier than some of its more FPS-focused competition. To provide some perspective, it's 8 grams heavier than the popular Glorious Model O. That said, it's 43 grams lighter than the popular Logitech G502, which is designed to handle a wide variety of game genres. Good build quality is important for the overall longevity of your mouse, and can also play a role in how comfortable it is to use. The Corsair SABRE RGB Pro's build quality feels great. There's no flexing in the body, and the left and right click buttons provide a satisfying tactile feedback. Unfortunately, when you shake the mouse, there is a noticeable rattling sound, and the side buttons feel slightly mushy. A good cable is a key element for any wired gaming mouse. Rubber cables are fairly flexible, but they can often feel cheap, while braided cables tend to be the most resistant to wear, but they aren't very flexible. On the other hand, paracord-like cables are typically the most flexible and offer the least drag on mousepads and desk. The Corsair SABRE RGB Pro has an excellent paracord-like cable. However, it does retain some kinks from its packaging, and it lacks some of the flexibility of higher-end paracord-like cables. Moving on to mouse feet. The shape, location, thickness, and material of these feet contribute to how your mouse feels when you move it across your mousepad or desk. The mouse feet on the Corsair SABRE RGB Pro are good. It has 4 triangular shaped feet and a 5th ring around the sensor. These feet all have rounded edges and are standard thickness. Unfortunately, they make a scratching sound and drag slightly on both desks and cloth mousepads. The Corsair SABRE RGB Pro is well suited for all hand sizes using a palm grip. Those with smaller hands may have difficulty reaching the front side buttons using a claw grip, or both side buttons and the scroll wheel using a fingertip grip. The sensor is the essential component of your mouse. It's responsible for translating your movements into the cursor movements you see on screen. First up, CPI or DPI stands for counts per inch and relates to the sensitivity of your mouse. A wide CPI range with precise adjustment steps is important. Everyone has different sensitivity preferences, but most gamers prefer CPI settings between 100 and 4000. The Corsair SABRE RGB Pro has an extremely wide CPI range. Like on some of Corsair's other models, you can adjust the set CPI by increments of 1, giving you a very precise control over your sensitivity settings. Corsair probably uses software interpolation for such small adjustment increments, but it works just fine. Next, lift-off distance is how high the sensor needs to be before it stops registering the surface beneath your mouse. A high lift-off distance means you have to lift your mouse up higher for it to stop tracking. A lower lift-off distance means that your sensor stops tracking sooner as you lift and begin moving your mouse. The minimum lift-off distance on the Corsair SABRE RGB Pro is very low. If you have a smaller mousepad or play on low CPI sensitivity settings, you won't have to worry about the sensor picking up unwanted movements when you reposition your mouse. While there aren't any options to select other preset lift-off distances in the software, there is an option to run a manual surface calibration. Polling rate is measured in hertz and dictates how often the sensor reports its position to your computer. Typically, you'll want to use the highest polling rate possible, as higher values result in a smoother cursor movements. Nearly all gaming mice support polling rates up to 1000 Hz, but the Corsair SABRE RGB Pro supports additional polling rates of 2000 Hz, 4000 Hz, and 8000 Hz. Using these higher polling rates provides slightly smoother feeling mouse movements and lower latency, but the difference between 1000 Hz and 8000 Hz isn't anywhere as noticeable as the difference between 500 Hz and 8000 Hz. Note that Corsair warns you that you should at least have an 8-core processor to enable 8000 Hz polling rate, as it consumes a lot of system resources. Additionally, only a small number of games support 8000 Hz polling rate at this point. Click latency is a measure of how long it takes for your mouse click to be registered by your computer once you click it. A lower click latency can play a crucial role in how responsive your gaming experience feels, as any millisecond can make a difference between winning and losing. The Corsair SABRE RGB Pro has an excellent click latency. It's more than suitable for all game genres and delivers quick and responsive performance in-game. The Corsair SABRE RGB Pro has 6 buttons. You can remap any of them using the customization software. Or you can set them to run macros, act as media controls, launch apps, or perform keystroke combinations. By default, the button behind the scroll wheel allows you to cycle between 5 custom CPI settings. The scroll wheel itself is a standard notched wheel with pronounced steps and rubberized surface for grip. Moving on to software. Robust companion software can be helpful for customizing sensor specifics, button mapping, and adjusting RGB lighting. However, not all gamers will see it as necessary, and some mice have simple customization controls directly on the mouse. The Corsair SABRE RGB Pro uses Corsair's IQ software. It's easy to use and offers plenty of customization options. It's also compatible with Windows and macOS. Unfortunately, options like polling rate settings are hidden in the submenus, and using the onboard memory feature isn't very straightforward. So this brings us to the main question. Should you buy this mouse? The Corsair SABRE RGB Pro is a high-performance, lightweight mouse that competes surprisingly well against more premium options. It sets itself apart from Corsair's typical lineup of heavier, mid-tier gaming mice, which tend to be more focused on versatility. Overall, this is an excellent gaming mouse, even before taking into consideration its higher polling rate technology. That said, whether you'll be able to take full advantage of all it has to offer will depend on your system specs and the games you like to play. If you're willing to pay a little bit more for another option that offers a maximum polling rate of 8000 Hz, the Razer Viper 8 kHz has feet that glide much more smoothly on mouse pads and desks. It also has a true ambidextrous design with side buttons on both sides, making it an equally great choice for right or left-handed users. If you aren't as interested in a higher than standard polling rate but are looking for a similarly performant wireless option, take a look at the glorious Model D Wireless. Or for another wired option that has a standard 1000 Hz polling rate but is lighter and equally well suited for larger hands, check out the Mountain Makalu 67.